That news that broke just before we come on air at 4 o'clock. The American rapper Sean Diddy Combs has been found guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, but cleared of racketeering and sex trafficking charges. Let's cross to the US now and speak to legal journalist MeghannCuniff. Hello, Meghann. Good to have you on again. Well, the jury came back. They delivered the verdict. He was found not guilty of 2 counts of sex trafficking by force and 1 of racketeering. Can you explain what those charges mean to us?
Yes, this is overall a big win for Sean Combs and a big loss for prosecutors because the sex trafficking and racketeering charges were his most serious charges. The prosecutor even emphasized in her closing argument that the transportation for prostitution charges apply and should be convictions, even if everyone who's participating is enthusiastically agreeing to it. And of course, prosecutors were saying that the women that Sean Combs was trafficking were not agreeing to it. And that's what leads to the more serious charges of trafficking and racketeering. So for the jury to wholly reject those charges shows that they only convicted on the transportation charges based on what the prosecutor said, that even if everyone consents, it's illegal. So that is a very weak conviction for prosecutors when they were going for a whole organized crime theory, saying that Sean Combs was actually using his employees as part of an organized conspiracy to traffic these women to prostitutes.
And Meghann, he was found guilty of 2 counts of transportation for prostitution. Can you talk us through the definition of what that means?
Correct. That applies to transportations across state lines, which makes it a federal crime in the United States. It's the use of interstate commerce to facilitate these interactions. And the question was, is he knowingly paying these men who are traveling to other states to meet with him and Cassie and then his other girlfriend, Jane? Is he knowingly paying them for sex? If he is, that's a commercial sex act that makes these transactions illegal, that he's transporting them for this purpose. Of course, his defense was that he's not paying them for sex, he's paying them for time. But that really was not backed up by anything. And it was well established through text messages and other communications that he knew he was paying these men to come out, not to go skydiving or go to dinner, but to have sexual intercourse with these women.
And Meghann, I know you can't second guess a jury and what they're discussing behind closed doors, but is this outcome surprising to you, or be surprised by any of this?
A lot of people are surprised in general just because federal court and the seriousness of the charges, it's not often that you see acquittals like this, but especially following the evidence and especially after being at the courthouse for a few days in New York City and just kind of taking in the feel for the case, you could see that perhaps jurors were thinking this was a bit of an overreach and that they just spent 7 weeks watching a lot of pornography where it did appear that the women were liking it. These videos were not shown to the public, so we can't be the judge of that. But just based on how Sean Combs' defense lawyers embraced these videos and were willing to show clips and cross-examination, it painted a more complicated story than prosecutors were painting these as brutal sex crimes.
How likely is it that he'll get jail time because those serious charges, as you said, were found not guilty? What do you think will happen now?
The maximum charges for maximum sentence on these charges is 10 years. Prosecutors are acting like perhaps he could serve that consecutively, but that is pretty much guaranteed not to happen. There's actually a discussion right now about whether he's going to be released from jail today. His lawyers are making the case that he should be released on bail pending his sentencing, and the judge is going to have to give that some serious thought because given the fact that he is not facing all that much time on these charges, he might very well get some kind of bail package and be released. But he's probably looking at a few years, but he would be credited for the time that he's already spent in jail.
Meghann, thank you for talking us through all that. That's legal journalist MeghannCuniff speaking to us from the US, and we'll cross back there to get more